Welcome to the Walking in Freedom podcast. I'm Amy Reardon. Join me every other week as I share episodes created to help you pursue deeper intimacy with Jesus and walk in freedom as you discover and embrace who you're created to be. Thanks for joining me. Hi, everyone. Believe it or not, this is the final episode of the first season of the Walking in Freedom podcast. I have enjoyed finally learning how to set up a podcast, and I have learned so much in doing so this past season. I've also enjoyed sharing so many of these episodes with you along the way. Maybe this is the first episode that you've heard, or you've only listened to a couple of them. I encourage you to go back and listen to the other episodes from this first season. I have spent the last several months talking about many different topics related to walking in freedom in our lives. I've shared some of my story and talked about why I'm so passionate about helping other women walk in freedom. I've talked about seasons of waiting and wilderness seasons, or times when we find ourselves needing to be still and times that we need to wait on God. I've also talked about our focus and how important it is to put our focus on Jesus instead of what we're trying to overcome, and why that's so important to do. I've also talked about intimacy with Jesus, and knowing me, I probably mention that in just about every episode. And I've shared on top of just what that looks like and how to pursue intimacy with him. I've talked about how to be transparent and vulnerable before him when you're not used to doing this, or if you're experiencing a lot of shame or fear in doing so. Because a lot of times, especially in the beginning, it can be scary being transparent before him, and especially if shame is involved, there can be just a lot of uncertainty of how to do that. So I talk a lot about that this past season. I've also talked about our desires and how they can actually be indicators of a God-given need that we are trying to meet in another way, which can be a big reason why it doesn't work when we try to ignore our desires or squelch them or shove them down. I've also talked about pornography and how prevalent this can be with women because, as many of you know, this was a struggle of mine and a big part of my testimony. Many of the women that I coach find me because they are looking for someone to help them in this area. And I've talked about a lot of other topics related to walking in freedom over this past season. Over the next few months, I'm going to be starting to plan for season 2 of this podcast. And I wanted to mention this to you now because if you have any suggestions for a topic that's related to one that I normally talk about that you would like me to share next season, or if I did talk about something and you'd like to hear more about it, I'm encouraging you to reach out to let me know. There's a chance that I could be talking about that next season, especially if I hear the same suggestion more than once. I will include my email in the show notes for you to contact me that way. In the meantime, I encourage you to check out my website for several of the resources that I offer. Some of them I've mentioned this past season, and some of them I haven't. They are all located on my website, which is walkingfreedomministries.com, and there's a resource page where you can find all of these. And some of them that I wanted to mention today are the individual coaching that I offer for women. That is in person and on Zoom, which I love doing. I also have a prayer ministry for women, which I have in person and on Zoom as well. I have group coaching programs that I offer throughout the year, and I rotate them all throughout the year. And I also have my books listed on my website on the resource page. And in case you haven't heard me mention this anywhere else, I am so very excited to, just as of about not too long ago, a few weeks ago, I finally now have both of my books on Audible. And I don't know if it was the first episode or the second, I didn't go back to check before I'm saying this, but in the very beginning of this season, I mentioned that one of the reasons why I wanted to start a podcast is because I've had so many people reach out to me over the years asking me if I had my books on Audible or some sort of audio version, and I have not up until now because I was never sure how or when or if I would ever be able to do that. People are often looking for something that they can listen to now, and I finally have that. So I encourage you to check that out. You can find them on Audible, or if you go to Amazon and if you have purchased the Kindle version, I believe it is a whole lot cheaper to purchase the audio version. So I would encourage you to check that out. You can also sign up for my email newsletter on my website, where I share tools for heart healing, freedom, and pursuing intimacy with Jesus. This is also where I announce everything that's coming up that you may be interested in. I also have a free guide called Breaking Free from Shame that I put together for anyone who is dealing with shame and wanting to experience freedom in this area of their lives. So if you are dealing with shame, I encourage you to check that out. Maybe you don't even know if you're dealing with shame. I actually didn't know that shame was such a huge issue in my life until God started setting me free from it. I didn't have a period of time in my life that was like a before and after shame. I had just always dealt with it. So I never knew what it was until God started setting me free. So check out that guide on the resource page of my website, or I also have a place to sign up to receive it on the front page of my website as well. I am so thankful for this past first season of the podcast, and I really hope that it blessed you. I encourage you, if you liked this podcast, if this has been beneficial for you, I encourage you to please leave me a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on. Reviews make a much bigger difference than I had ever realized before I started publishing some things myself. And I know that I have had people ask for reviews and really not realized that it made any kind of difference at all until, like I said, till I started doing this myself. So part of me feels guilty asking for reviews, but it really does show whatever platform that is that people are interested in that and they start sharing it more. So that would be very helpful for me to get this out to other people. If you would be willing to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't listened to any of the episodes, or if there's any that you missed, I encourage you to do so and to share it with anyone that you may think may be interested over the next few months here. And I will see you back here in a few months for season 2. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I encourage you to like and subscribe to this podcast and share this with your friends. Stop over to my website, walkinginfreedomministries.com, for more. Talk to you next time.